I was at my desk finishing quarterly reports when my phone buzzed. My mother's text read, "You're an idiot if you think you're welcome at Thanksgiving. Your sister agrees. Don't bother showing up. We're done with your attitude." I stared at the screen, stunned. For 5 years, I'd paid their mortgage, utilities, car payments, and credit cards. $53,000 last year alone. My mother didn't know I discovered the forged checks last week. She didn't know about the private investigator. She had no idea what's coming. I sat frozen in my cubicle, rereading those words until they blurred. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead, and somewhere down the hall, a printer whirred. Normal office sounds on a day that suddenly felt anything but normal. My hands were shaking as I set the phone down on my desk. "My name is Jeffrey, and I'm 32 years old. I work as a senior accountant at a mid-sized firm in Columbus, Ohio. My father died 7 years ago from a sudden heart attack. He was 51. One morning, he was drinking coffee and reading the newspaper, and by afternoon, he was gone. The shock of it fractured our family in ways I didn't fully understand at the time. After the funeral, my mother sat us all down in the living room. Me, my younger sister Amanda, who was 21 then, and my brother Travis, who was only 18. She had papers spread across the coffee table, her hands trembling as she explained the situation. "Dad had left debts," she said. "The mortgage wasn't fully paid. There were credit cards, medical bills, car loans." She looked at me with red-rimmed eyes and said, "Jeffrey, you're the oldest. You have a good job. I need your help." I didn't hesitate. What kind of son would I be if I refused? I was making $62,000 a year back then, decent money for a 25-year-old. I immediately set up automatic transfers, $800 a month for the mortgage, $200 for utilities, $300 for her car payment, whatever else she needed, whenever she called. Birthday money for Travis, Amanda's car insurance, emergency dental work, a new water heater. The requests never stopped, and I never said no. Over the years, my salary increased. I worked hard, earned promotions, and by last year I was making $87,000 annually, but my standard of living never improved. I lived in a 400-square-foot studio apartment in a building that smelled like old carpet and someone else's cooking. My furniture came from thrift stores. I drove a 2013 Honda Civic with a dent in the passenger door and a check engine light that flickered on and off like a nervous tick. Meanwhile, I increased my monthly support. By this year, I was sending between $3,000 and $4,000 every single month. I paid my mother's mortgage, her utilities, her phone bill, her car insurance, and often her credit card minimums. I paid for Amanda's car insurance, her phone, and frequently her rent when she was short. I paid for Travis's car, his insurance, and helped with his community college tuition. Last year alone, I sent them $53,000. I have the bank statements to prove it. $53,000 while I ate ramen noodles 4 nights a week and hadn't taken a vacation since 2021. 6 months ago, my girlfriend Sarah left me. We'd been together for 3 years, and she was the best thing in my life. But she couldn't understand why I prioritized my family over our future. We'd talked about getting married, buying a house, having kids, but I couldn't save money. Every dollar went to my family. I remember our last fight. We were in her apartment, and she had a real estate listing pulled up on her laptop. "Look at this house, Jeffrey. 3 bedrooms, nice yard, good school district. We could afford this if you weren't sending your entire paycheck to your mother." "She's my mother," I said. "She needs help." Sarah closed the laptop and looked at me with such sadness. "Your mother drives a 2023 SUV, Jeffrey. Your sister goes to brunch every weekend and posts about it on Instagram. Your brother just bought a PlayStation 5. But you're eating cereal for dinner and wearing shoes with holes in them. When does it end?" I didn't have an answer. She moved out that weekend. The breakup devastated me, but my family barely acknowledged it. When I mentioned it to my mother, she said, "Well, relationships end. You'll find someone else." Then she asked if I could cover an extra $500 that month because Amanda needed new tires. About 6 weeks ago, I was reconciling my bank statements when I noticed something odd. 3 checks had cleared from my savings account, totaling $2,400. I hadn't written any checks from savings. I barely used that account. I kept it as my emergency fund, and it had taken me 2 years to build it up to $8,000. I called the bank, and they emailed me copies of the checks. My signature was on each one, but something felt wrong. The handwriting wasn't quite right. The loops were different. The pressure of the pen looked off. I spent a week agonizing over it, telling myself I was paranoid. Maybe I had written them and forgotten, but I couldn't shake the feeling. Finally, I did something I never thought I'd do. I hired a private investigator. His name was Harold, a retired police detective who now ran a small investigation firm. He had gray hair, deep-set eyes, and the kind of weathered face that suggested he'd seen everything twice. I met him in his office above a dry cleaner, and I felt ridiculous as I explained my suspicions. Harold didn't make me feel ridiculous. He nodded, took notes, and said, "Family cases are always the hardest. Give me 2 weeks." While Harold investigated, I started paying closer attention to my family's behavior. I noticed things I'd ignored before. How Amanda always had a new outfit when I video called. How my mother's kitchen had been remodeled at some point, with granite countertops I didn't remember. How Travis casually mentioned concert tickets and weekend trips, and I noticed how they treated me. How my mother's tone was always vaguely disappointed, as if my contributions were never quite enough. How Amanda made jokes about my cheap apartment and old car. How Travis rarely called unless he needed something. 2 days ago, Harold called me back to his office. He laid out a folder on his desk, and my stomach dropped as I looked at the contents. "Your sister forged those checks," he said. "All 3 of them. She used mobile deposit, photographed them with her phone, and deposited them into her account. I have the timestamps. She was sloppy. On one of them, she was posting on Instagram at the exact same moment, geotagged at your mother's house." I felt like I'd been punched. "Amanda, my little sister? There's more," Harold said. "I spoke with a family friend of yours, woman named Dorothy. She thought I was just making conversation. She mentioned how generous you are, letting Amanda use your checkbook whenever she needs it. She assumed it was with your permission." "So my mother knew," I said. Harold nodded. "I believe so. I can't prove she forged anything herself, but she knew what Amanda was doing." I drove home in a daze. My sister had stolen from me. My mother had known and said nothing, and they both continued accepting my monthly payments as if they were entitled to them. That was 2 days ago. Now, sitting at my desk, staring at my mother's text, calling me an idiot and banning me from Thanksgiving, something inside me snapped. Not in an explosive way. It was quieter than that. It was like a lock clicking open, or a rope finally fraying through. I pulled up my laptop and logged into my banking portal. My hands were steady now. I found the automatic payment scheduled for my mother's mortgage. Due in 3 days. $1,900. I clicked cancel. Then I called the electric company. I was the authorized account holder for my mother's address. I'd set it up years ago to make automatic payments easier. I canceled the autopay and removed my payment method. The representative asked if I wanted to transfer the account back to the homeowner. I said yes. Then I called the phone company. My mother, Amanda, and Travis were all on my family plan. Unlimited data. Latest phones. The whole package. It cost me $230 monthly. I asked to remove all 3 lines. The representative hesitated. "Sir, this will disconnect their service immediately." "I understand," I said. "Please proceed." Within 15 minutes, it was done. I sat back in my chair and exhaled. Years of financial support, canceled in less time than it took to brew coffee. My phone started ringing almost immediately. My mother. I declined the call. It rang again. "Amanda." Declined. "Travis." Declined. Then the texts started flooding in. From my mother. "What did you do? Call me right now." From Amanda. "Are you serious right now?" My phone just shut off. From Travis. "Dude, what's going on? Mom is freaking out." I silenced my phone and put it face down on my desk. By the end of the workday, I had 47 missed calls. I drove home, stopped for Chinese takeout, and ate it alone in my apartment. My phone continued buzzing. Text after text. My mother. The phone company says we're disconnected. This is ridiculous. Amanda. You can't just cut off our phones. What if there's an emergency? My mother again. Jeffrey Samuel Thompson. You call me back this instant. Amanda. This is abuse. You're financially abusing us. I deleted them all without responding. I turned on a baseball game and tried to relax, but my heart was racing. Part of me felt guilty. Part of me felt terrified. But underneath both of those feelings was something else, something that felt almost like freedom. I fell asleep on my couch around 10 o'clock. When I woke up at 6 the next morning and checked my phone, I had 87 missed calls. 87. I made coffee and stared at that number. They'd called me 87 times in less than 24 hours. Not once in the previous 5 years had my mother called just to ask how I was doing. Not once had Amanda called to say she was thinking of me. But cut off the money, and suddenly I was the most important person in their lives. I hadn't even told them about the forgery investigation yet. That would come later. 3 days passed. 3 days of silence from me, and increasing desperation from them. The messages evolved from angry to confused to pleading. My mother left voicemails talking about how hurt she was, how she didn't understand what she'd done wrong. Amanda sent long texts about family loyalty and how disappointed Dad would be in me. Travis tried a different approach, casual and friendly, asking if we could grab a beer and talk. I ignored all of it. I went to work, came home, and lived my life. It was Wednesday evening when I returned from the office and found them waiting for me. I walked into my apartment building's lobby, and there they were. My mother sat in one of the worn chairs near the mailboxes, her purse clutched in her lap. Amanda stood by the window, arms crossed. Travis leaned against the wall, hands in his pockets. The building manager, Carol, was behind her desk, looking uncomfortable. She gave me an apologetic look. She said she was your mother, Jeffrey. I couldn't really. It's fine, Carol, I said quietly. I turned to face them. What are you doing here? My mother stood up. Her eyes were red, and she'd clearly been crying. What are we doing here? Jeffrey, what have you done? How could you just abandon us like this? Amanda stepped forward. Do you have any idea what you've put us through? The power got shut off yesterday. All the food in the fridge spoiled. Mom had to throw away hundreds of dollars of groceries. I kept my voice calm. You called me an idiot. You banned me from Thanksgiving. I'm just respecting your wishes. My mother's face crumpled. I was upset. I didn't mean it literally. You're being so sensitive. Amanda jumped in. You don't just cut people off because of one text message, Jeffrey. That's insane. Travis finally spoke, his tone more measured. Look, man, we all say things we don't mean when we're frustrated. Can't we just talk about this? I looked at each of them. My mother in her expensive coat, the one I'd helped pay for last Christmas. Amanda in designer jeans, carrying the purse she'd bought 3 months ago while I was sending her rent money. Travis with his new sneakers that cost $200. I've been talking for 5 years, I said. I've been talking with my bank account. I've sent you between $3,000 and $4,000 every single month. That's what I've been saying. I've said it so much I can't afford furniture. I can't afford to fix my car. I couldn't afford to keep my girlfriend. Your girlfriend left because she was selfish, my mother snapped. She didn't understand family responsibility. No, I said. She left because I was giving you everything and she could see what I couldn't. That I was being used. Amanda gasped. Used? We're your family. Family? I repeated. Right. When's the last time any of you called just to see how I was doing? When's the last time you asked about my life, my job, my problems? Not asking for money. Just asking. None of them had an answer. My mother tried another tactic. Her voice softened, became almost gentle. Jeffrey. Honey. You're clearly under a lot of stress. This isn't like you. Why don't you take some time off work? We can figure this out together. I shook my head. I'm done being the bank for people who don't respect me. That's when the threats started. My mother's expression hardened. If that's how you want to be, fine. But I'm telling the entire family what you've done. Uncle Randy, Aunt Cheryl, all the cousins. They'll all know how you abandoned your widowed mother. Amanda pulled out her phone. I'm posting about this. Everyone needs to know about your financial abuse. Travis looked uncomfortable but added, Uncle Randy's a lawyer, man. This might not be legal, what you're doing. I felt my jaw tighten, but I kept my voice level. Do what you need to do. I turned toward the elevator. My mother called after me, her voice rising. We'll lose the house because of you. The house your father worked so hard for. We'll be homeless. I stopped. Something about that particular lie, that specific manipulation, snapped the last thread of patience I had. I turned back around and looked directly at my mother. The house Dad already paid off? I said. The one with no mortgage? That house? My mother's face went white. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. I continued, my voice steady. Yeah, Mom. I know about the home equity loan you took out 2 years ago. The $70,000 loan you said was Dad's leftover debt. The one you told me was a mortgage he hadn't finished paying. I've been paying that off for 24 months. Except it wasn't Dad's debt. Was it? It was your spending. Amanda stared at her mother. What's he talking about? I looked at Amanda. Ask her. Ask her what she spent $70,000 on. Ask her why she needed to borrow against a house that was completely paid for. My mother's mouth moved, but nothing came out. Travis pushed off from the wall, his expression confused. Mom? I didn't wait for her answer. I walked to the elevator, pressed the button, and stepped inside. As the doors closed, I saw my mother sink back into the chair, Amanda standing frozen, and Travis staring at his mother with dawning realization. When I got to my apartment, I locked the door and leaned against it. My heart was pounding. I'd never confronted her like that. In 32 years, I'd never directly challenged her authority, her narrative, her version of reality. My phone buzzed. I pulled it out, expecting more angry messages. It was Carol, the building manager. I'm sorry they ambushed you. I told them they couldn't wait inside anymore. They left about 10 minutes ago. Your mother was crying. I typed back. Thanks, Carol. I appreciate you letting me know. I walked to my kitchen, poured a glass of water, and sat at my small table. The apartment was quiet. No angry voices, no demands, no guilt trips. Just silence. My phone showed the missed call count, 87 total over the past 3 days. 87 calls from people who didn't call once on my birthday. I thought about my father. He'd been a good man, quiet and hardworking. He'd fixed cars at a local shop, came home with grease under his fingernails, and never complained. He'd taught me about responsibility, about taking care of family, about doing the right thing even when it was hard. But I wondered if he'd meant it like this. If he'd known what my mother would become, would he still have asked me to look after everyone? I didn't have those answers. All I knew was that I couldn't keep living like I had been. Something had to change. I just didn't know yet how much worse it would get before it got better. The next morning, I met Harold at a coffee shop downtown. It was one of those small places with mismatched furniture and local art on the walls. He was already there when I arrived, sitting in a corner booth with a manila folder in front of him. I ordered a black coffee and joined him. He looked at me with those observant eyes and said, "You look tired." "I haven't been sleeping well," I admitted. He nodded like he understood. Family cases always do that. "You ready for this?" He opened the folder and spread out the contents. Bank statements, photocopies of checks, printed screenshots, and what looked like a handwriting analysis report. "Let's start with the checks," Harold said. He pointed to 3 photocopies. "These are the ones that cleared from your savings account. $500, $800, and $1,200. Total of $2,400 over a 3-month period." I studied them. My signature was on each one. But seeing them now, with Harold pointing out the details, the forgery was obvious. The way the G and Jeffrey slanted wrong. The loop on the Y too tight. The pressure inconsistent. I had the bank provide high-resolution scans, Harold continued. Then I sent them to a handwriting analyst. retired FBI. He pulled out another document. His conclusion is that these were not written by you. The analyst is willing to testify to that if needed. My stomach tightened. Testify? If you decide to press charges, Harold said carefully. That's your choice. But yes, this is criminal. Forgery, bank fraud. Your sister could face serious consequences. He pulled out more papers. Here's where it gets interesting. I did a deep dive on your sister's social media. She's not exactly careful about what she posts. He showed me printed screenshots from Amanda's Instagram. There were photos of brunch plates, new shoes, concert tickets, weekend trips to Nashville and Chicago, all posted within the same 3-month window as the forged checks. Now look at this, Harold said. He pointed to one particular post. It was a selfie of Amanda at a restaurant, smiling with a cocktail. The timestamp read 11:23 a.m. on a Tuesday. The geotag said she was at our mother's house. I don't understand, I said. Look at the date, Harold said. March 14th. Now look at this. He showed me a bank document. The $800 check was deposited via mobile app at 11:18 a.m. on March 14th. She was forging checks while taking selfies, I said slowly. Harold nodded. She got comfortable, sloppy. She never thought you'd check. What about my mother? That's harder to prove directly, Harold said. But I did some digging. I spoke with a woman named Dorothy. Goes to your mother's church? She thought I was just a friendly guy making conversation. He pulled out a small notebook and flipped through it. Dorothy mentioned how generous you are, how your mother always talks about what a good son you have. Then she said, and I quote, "It's so nice that you let Amanda use your checkbook whenever she needs something. Most brothers wouldn't be that trusting. So my mother has been telling people I gave Amanda permission," I said. "Which means your mother knows what Amanda's been doing," Harold confirmed. "She's covering for her, maybe even encouraging it." I sat back, feeling sick. The coffee in front of me suddenly looked unappealing. "There's one more thing," Harold said. He hesitated, which wasn't like him. "This morning, I got a call from a buddy who still works at the police department. Your name came up in their system." "What?" "Someone called your employer yesterday. Claimed to be a concerned family member. Said you were having a mental breakdown and making irrational financial decisions. Asked if your company had an employee assistance program." I felt cold. "My mother? That would be my guess," Harold said. "She's trying to make you look unstable. If she can convince people you're not in your right mind, then your claims about the forgery become easier to dismiss." I pulled out my phone and checked my work email. Sure enough, there was a message from Patricia, my boss. "Jeffrey, can you stop by my office when you get in this morning? Nothing urgent, just want to check in on you." "She knows," I said. "Then you need to get ahead of this," Harold said firmly. "Bring the evidence. Show her what's really happening. Don't let your mother control the narrative." I nodded, feeling overwhelmed. Everything was spiraling so quickly. Harold leaned forward. "Jeffrey, I need you to understand something. Your family isn't going to stop. They're going to escalate. They're going to try to destroy your credibility, your reputation, anything they can. You need to be prepared for that." "What do I do?" "You fight back," Harold said. "You file a police report. You press charges. You protect yourself legally and financially. This isn't about revenge. It's about survival." I left the coffee shop with the folder tucked under my arm and drove straight to work. My mind was racing. Everything I thought I knew about my family was crumbling. My little sister, who I'd helped pay for driving lessons and car insurance, had stolen from me. My mother, who I'd supported for 7 years, was actively trying to sabotage my career. When I got to the office, I went straight to Patricia's door and knocked. She looked up from her computer. "Jeffrey, come in." Closed the door. I sat down, and she studied me for a moment. "I got some unusual calls yesterday," she began. "Your mother, your Uncle Randy, and a family friend named Dorothy. All 3 expressed concern about your well-being. They suggested you might be under extreme stress." "I am under stress," I said, "but not the kind they're implying." She waited. I opened the folder and laid it out on her desk. The forged checks, the handwriting analysis, the private investigator's report, the timeline showing Amanda's social media posts matching the dates of the fraudulent deposits. Patricia's expression shifted as she reviewed everything. Her jaw tightened. She looked up at me. "Your sister forged checks from your account," she said. "Yes, and my mother knew about it. They're trying to make me look unstable because I stopped sending them money." Patricia leaned back in her chair. "How much money are we talking about?" "I've been supporting them for 7 years. Last year alone, $53,000. My entire adult life, I've been sending them between $3,000 and $4,000 a month." She looked at me with something like shock. "Jeffrey, that's..." She trailed off, then regained her composure. "That's most of your take-home pay." I nodded. "My girlfriend left me because I couldn't save money. I live in a studio apartment and drive a car that's falling apart. Meanwhile, my sister takes vacations, and my mother drives a new SUV, and when you stopped paying, they came after you." "Yes." Patricia closed the folder and slid it back to me. "First, I want you to know that I don't question your mental state or your professionalism. You're one of our best accountants. Second, I'm horrified that your family is trying to manipulate your employer. That crosses a serious line." "Thank you," I said, feeling a wave of relief. "What do you need from me?" she asked. "Just the truth," I said. "If they call again, if they try to spread rumors, I need you to know what's really happening." "You have my support," she said firmly. "And Jeffrey? You might want to consider legal action. This is fraud." "I'm working on it," I said. That afternoon, I tried to focus on work, but my mind kept wandering. Around 3 o'clock, my phone rang. "Unknown number." Against my better judgment, I answered. It was my bank's fraud department. "Mr. Thompson, we're calling because someone attempted to open a credit card in your name this morning. The application was submitted online at 8:42 a.m. We flagged it because you have a fraud alert on your account." I felt my blood run cold. "Someone tried to open a card in my name?" "Yes, sir. The application listed your social security number and date of birth, but the IP address traced to a location in Columbus. We pulled the street address. Does Maple Grove Avenue mean anything to you?" "That's my mother's house," I said. The representative paused. "I see. Well, the application has been denied and reported. You may want to file a police report for identity theft." After I hung up, I just sat there. My mother had tried to open a credit card in my name. After everything else, she'd actually attempted identity theft. My hands were shaking as I called Harold. "She did what?" he said when I told him. "Tried to open a credit card in my name. The bank caught it." "That's a felony, Jeffrey. Identity theft is not something you brush off." "What do I do?" "You file a police report today. Right now. And you need a lawyer. A good one. This is beyond just family drama now. This is serious criminal activity." I felt like I was drowning. A week ago, my biggest problem was being called an idiot in a text message. Now I was dealing with forgery, fraud, and identity theft. Harold gave me the name of an attorney. Diane Shepard. Someone he'd worked with before. I called her office immediately, and her secretary squeezed me in for an appointment the next day. That evening, I went to the police station and filed reports. One for the forged checks. One for the identity theft attempt. The officer taking my statement looked sympathetic but weary, like he'd seen this kind of family situation 100 times before. "Family cases are always messy," he said as he typed up my report. "You sure you want to go through with this? Once you file these reports, there's no taking them back." "I'm sure," I said, because he was right. Once I did this, there was no going back. My relationship with my mother and Amanda would be permanently destroyed. Holidays would never be the same. Family gatherings would become impossible. But what choice did I have? They'd stolen from me, lied about me, and tried to commit identity theft. Was I supposed to just accept that because we shared DNA? I signed the reports and left the station. On the drive home, I thought about my father again. I wished he were alive. I wished I could ask him what to do. But he wasn't here, and I had to figure this out on my own. When I got home, there were 17 new missed calls on my phone, all from my family. I deleted the voicemails without listening to them. I ordered pizza, ate half of it, and fell asleep with the television on. I dreamed about being buried alive under an avalanche of bills and bank statements, my family standing at the top of the hole, refusing to throw me a rope. I woke up to my phone vibrating on the coffee table. Sunlight streamed through my apartment window, and for a moment I forgot about everything. Then I picked up my phone and reality crashed back. 17 notifications. Texts from extended family members. My Aunt Cheryl. My cousin Brett. My Uncle Randy's wife, Ellen. None of them had contacted me in months, but suddenly they all had urgent messages. I opened the first one, from Aunt Cheryl. Jeffrey, I just saw Amanda's post on Facebook. Is this true? How could you do this to your mother? My stomach dropped. I opened Facebook. Amanda's post was at the top of my feed. It was long, emotional, and devastating. The headline alone made me feel sick. When your brother abandons you in your darkest hour. She'd written a 1,000-word essay about financial elder abuse, about how I'd been controlling the family finances for years, using money as leverage and power, about how I'd suddenly and cruelly cut off our grieving, widowed mother without warning, about how she and Travis were trying to hold things together while I played games with their survival. She mentioned Dad's death, painting a picture of our mother as fragile and devastated, still barely functioning 7 years later. She described me as cold, calculating, and manipulative. She talked about how I'd once been a caring brother, but success had changed me, made me bitter and selfish. The post had been shared 217 times. The comment section was worse. Dozens of people I knew, people I'd grown up with, friends of the family, all expressing shock and disgust. Some tagged me directly. How could you do this, Jeffrey? Your father would be ashamed. Praying for your poor mother. Money changes people. So sad. A few people tried to defend me or ask for my side, but they were drowned out. Amanda had controlled the narrative perfectly. She'd made herself and my mother the victims, and me the villain. I felt like I was going to throw up. My phone rang. Jason from work. I answered. Hey man, he said carefully. I saw Amanda's Facebook post. Is that? I mean, what's going on? It's not true, I said. It's complicated, but that post is full of lies. There was a pause. Listen, some people in the office saw it too. Patricia wants to see you when you get in. I'll be there in 30 minutes. I showered, dressed, and drove to work in a fog. When I got to my cubicle, I could feel people watching me. The whispers stopped when I walked by. Someone quickly closed their browser window. Jason appeared at my cube. Patricia wants you in her office. Like, now. I grabbed the folder Harold had given me and walked to Patricia's office. She was on the phone but gestured for me to come in and sit. She finished her call and turned to me. I've received 3 more calls this morning, she said without preamble. Your mother, your Uncle Randy, and someone named Dorothy. Your uncle implied that you might be mishandling client accounts at work. What? That's insane. I know it's insane, Patricia said. But I'm required to take any allegation about financial impropriety seriously. I've already spoken to our CFO. We'll need to do an internal audit of your recent work. My hands clenched. They're trying to destroy me. Patricia's expression softened slightly. I know. And for what it's worth, I don't believe their accusations. But I have to follow protocol. Jeffrey, what's really going on? I opened the folder and laid out everything again. This time, I added the police reports from yesterday. The identity theft attempt. The forged checks. The private investigator's findings. Patricia reviewed everything, her expression darkening. Your sister forged checks. Your mother tried to open a credit card in your name. Yes. And now they're trying to destroy your professional reputation. Yes. She closed the folder and looked at me. I'm going to be frank with you. This is one of the most disturbing family situations I've ever seen. You're being systematically attacked by people who should be protecting you. I don't know what to do, I admitted. I feel like I'm drowning. You lawyer up, Patricia said firmly. You get ahead of this legally. And as far as work goes, don't worry. I'll handle the audit personally. I know you're clean. We'll document that. And if your family calls again with false accusations, we'll consider it harassment. Thank you, I said, meaning it deeply. I left her office feeling marginally better, but the day only got worse. At lunch, I checked my phone and found my email inbox flooded. Extended family members. Old high school friends. Even my barber had sent a message asking if I was okay. Everyone had seen Amanda's post. Everyone believed her version, and nobody was asking for mine. Around 2 o'clock, I left work early. I couldn't concentrate, couldn't function. I drove to Diane Shepard's law office, a small firm in a converted house near downtown. Diane was in her mid-50s, with sharp eyes and gray hair pulled back in a professional bun. Her office was filled with legal books and case files. She gestured for me to sit. Harold gave me a summary, but I want to hear it from you, she said. Start from the beginning. I told her everything. My father's death. 7 years of financial support. The lies about debt. The forged checks. The identity theft attempt. Amanda's Facebook post. Hastin. The attacks on my professional reputation. Diane took notes throughout, occasionally asking clarifying questions. When I finished, she set down her pen and looked at me. You don't just have a defense, Jeffrey. You have multiple criminal complaints you could file. Bank fraud, forgery, identity theft. Your sister's actions alone constitute several felonies. I don't want to destroy my sister's life, I said. I just want them to leave me alone. Diane's expression was kind, but firm. I understand. But you need to understand something too. They're not going to leave you alone. Your uncle's letter threatening a lawsuit? That's just the beginning. They're going to escalate until you have nothing left to take. What do you recommend? We go on a fence, Diane said. We file criminal complaints. We send cease and desist letters. We make it clear that continued harassment will result in legal action. And if they sue you, we countersue for fraud, emotional distress, and repayment of all funds given under false pretenses. My head was spinning. This is my family. Is it? Diane asked quietly. Because family doesn't steal from you. Family doesn't try to destroy your career. Family doesn't commit identity theft against you. She was right. I knew she was right. But knowing it and accepting it were different things. Let me ask you something, Diane continued. If a stranger did all of this to you, what would you do? I'd press charges immediately. Then why should your family get a pass? She leaned forward. Jeffrey, I know this is hard, but you have to protect yourself. Not just your money, but your reputation, your career, your future. If you don't fight back, they'll destroy you. I sat in silence for a long moment, thinking about everything. About 7 years of sacrifice, about Sarah leaving. About eating ramen while my family took vacations. About my mother calling me an idiot. About Amanda stealing from me. About the 87 missed calls. Okay, I finally said. Let's do it. All of it. Diane nodded. Good. I'll start drafting the documents today. We'll file the criminal complaints, and we'll be ready if they try to sue. As I stood to leave, my phone rang. I glanced at the screen. It was my boss, Patricia. I answered. Patricia? Jeffrey. Her voice was tight. Where are you right now? I'm at my lawyer's office. Why? You need to come back to work. Now. A process server is here with papers for you. What kind of papers? Your mother is suing you. My heart dropped into my stomach. For what? Patricia's voice was strained. Financial support. Something about filial responsibility laws. You need to get here. I looked at Diane. She could tell from my expression something had happened. What is it? She asked. My mother is suing me, I said. For financial support. Diane's jaw tightened. Then we fight. Get those papers and bring them to me immediately. I drove back to my office in a daze. A process server was waiting in the lobby, a bored-looking man with a clipboard. He confirmed my identity and handed me an envelope. You've been served, he said, and left. I stood there holding the envelope, aware of my coworkers watching. Someone whispered. Someone else took a photo with their phone. I went to my car and sat in the parking lot. My hands shook as I opened the envelope. The lawsuit was real. My mother, represented by Uncle Randy's firm, was suing me under Ohio's filial responsibility statute. She claimed I had a legal obligation to support her financially. She was asking for $60,000 in back support, plus ongoing monthly payments of $4,000. The complaint painted me as a callous son who had abandoned his widowed mother in her time of need. It mentioned Dad's death. It described my mother's supposed poverty and desperation. It claimed I lived a comfortable life while she suffered. None of it mentioned the $70,000 home equity loan she'd taken out on a paid-off house. None of it mentioned the forged checks. None of it mentioned that I'd already given her hundreds of thousands of dollars over 7 years. I drove back to Diane's office and handed her the papers. She read through them, her expression growing darker with each page. "This is garbage," she said flatly. "Ohio's filial responsibility statute is rarely enforced, and it only applies when a parent is truly indigent. Your mother drives a late-model SUV and took out a $70,000 home equity loan. She's not indigent. But they're trying it anyway," I said. "Because they're desperate," Diane replied. "You cut off their cash flow. They're scrambling. This is a Hail Mary attempt to force you back into line. What do? We respond aggressively. We file a motion to dismiss. And we include evidence of fraud, forgery, and identity theft. We show the court exactly what kind of people are making this claim." She started making notes. "I'm going to need copies of everything. All the bank statements showing your support over the years. All evidence of their spending. The home equity loan documents. The police reports. Everything." "I can get all of that," I said. "Good. We're going to bury them in evidence." She looked up at me. "Jeffrey, I need you to be prepared for something. This is going to get ugly. They're going to make you look as bad as possible. They're going to air every piece of dirty laundry they can find." "I don't have any dirty laundry," I said. "Then they'll make some up," Diane said bluntly. "That's how these cases go. Are you ready for that?" I thought about Amanda's Facebook post, about the attacks on my job, about being called an idiot and banned from Thanksgiving, about 7 years of being used. "Yes," I said. "I'm ready." That evening, as I sat in my apartment, Amanda posted again on Facebook, an update to her original post. "My brother has forced us to take legal action to protect our mother. We never wanted it to come to this, but he's left us no choice. Please keep our family in your prayers." Within an hour, it had been shared 300 times. My phone rang. Unknown number. I answered without thinking. It was Sarah, my ex-girlfriend. "Jeffrey? I just saw Amanda's posts. Is this all really happening?" Her voice was the first sympathetic thing I'd heard all day. I felt tears sting my eyes. "It's all true," I said. "All of it, but not the way she's telling it." "I didn't think so," Sarah said quietly. "I know you. I know how you are with your family. Jeffrey, what's really going on?" And, for the first time in days, someone actually asked for my side. Someone actually cared about my version of events. I told her everything. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, there was a long silence. "My God," she finally said. "Jeffrey, they've been using you for years." "I know," I whispered. "What are you going to do?" "I'm fighting back," I said. "I hired a lawyer. Filed police reports. I'm done being their bank." "Good," Sarah said firmly. "It's about time. And Jeffrey, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I gave you an ultimatum. I didn't understand how deep it went." "You tried to tell me," I said. "You saw what I couldn't." We talked for another hour. It didn't fix our relationship, but it helped. When we hung up, I felt a little less alone. I checked my phone one more time before bed. 93 missed calls now, but also messages from a few people who believed me. Jason, from work. Harold the investigator. Patricia. Diane. Sarah. It wasn't many, but it was enough to remind me that I wasn't crazy, that I wasn't the villain Amanda's posts made me out to be. I was just a man who'd finally learned to say no. The legal warfare began in earnest the next morning. I woke to an email from Uncle Randy's law firm. It was formal, cold, and threatening. A cease and desist letter, accusing me of slandering the family. It claimed I was spreading malicious lies about my mother and sister. It demanded I restore all financial support immediately and retract any false statements I'd made. The letter gave me 48 hours to comply or face additional legal action for defamation and intentional infliction of emotional distress. I forwarded it to Diane at 7:30 in the morning. She called me back within 20 minutes. "Your uncle is throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks," she said. "Filial responsibility, defamation, emotional distress. None of it will hold up, but it doesn't matter. The goal is to overwhelm you, drain your resources, and force you into submission." "Will it work?" I asked. "Not if we fight smart," she said. "I'm drafting our response now. We're going to make it very clear that you have evidence of criminal activity on their part, and any continued harassment will result in expanded charges." Later that morning, I received my first call from an extended family member, my Aunt Cheryl. She didn't even say hello. "Jeffrey, what on earth is going on? Your mother is beside herself. How could you cut her off like this?" I tried to explain. "Aunt Cheryl, there's a lot you don't know. I know you stopped paying her bills. I know she might lose her house." "The house that's paid off?" I said. "Or the house she took out a $70,000 loan against and lied to me about?" Silence. Then, "What are you talking about?" I explained about the home equity loan, about how my mother had told me it was Dad's leftover debt, about how I'd been paying it off for 2 years while she spent the borrowed money on vacations and cars. "That can't be true," Aunt Cheryl said, but her voice was uncertain. "It is true. I have the documents. Even so, she's your mother. You don't just abandon family." And that was the conversation with every family member who called. Even when confronted with facts, they fell back on the same defense. "But she's your mother. Family is family. You don't turn your back on blood." My cousin Brett was more aggressive. He called me that afternoon while I was at work. "Dude, what the hell? You're really going to let your mom lose her house over some petty argument?" "It's not a petty argument, Brett." Amanda forged checks from my account. My mother tried to commit identity theft against me. "Come on, man. Family has disagreements. You work it out." "This isn't a disagreement. This is fraud," Brett scoffed. "You always were uptight about money. Maybe if you weren't so cheap, none of this would have happened." I hung up on him. By the end of the day, I'd received calls from 7 different family members. Only one, my younger cousin Lisa, actually listened to my side. She said, quietly, "I believe you, Jeffrey. But I can't say that publicly. Mom would kill me." I understood. Amanda's narrative had taken hold. I was the villain. They were the victims. Anyone who questioned that risked becoming an outsider themselves. That evening, I met with Diane in her office. She had news. "The home equity loan your mother took out?" I did some digging. "She's 3 months behind on the payments." My stomach dropped. 3 months? "Yes. The bank is starting foreclosure proceedings. She hasn't paid since August." "But I was paying it until November," I said. "How is she 3 months behind?" Diane slid a document across her desk. "Because the amount you were paying didn't fully cover the loan payment. You were paying $800 a month. The actual payment is $1,300 monthly." I felt dizzy. So she was lying about how much the payment was, too. It appears so. She was pocketing part of what you sent and letting the loan fall behind anyway. I put my head in my hands. Every day brought new revelations, new layers of deception. "There's more," Diane said. "The bank records for the home equity loan show exactly where the money went. $22,000 to a travel agency for a European cruise. $18,000 to a car dealership for Travis's vehicle. The rest to various retailers and restaurants. So she borrowed $70,000, I said slowly. Told me it was Dad's debt. Had me pay part of it while she spent the money on vacations and cars. And now the bank is foreclosing anyway." "That's correct. And she's suing me for abandoning her." Diane's expression was grim. "Yes." We sat in silence for a moment. Then Diane continued. "Here's where we are legally. We're filing a motion to dismiss her lawsuit. We're including evidence of fraud, forgery, and identity theft. We're also preparing a countersuit for fraud and demanding repayment of all funds given under false pretenses." "How much are we talking about?" "I did the math," Diane said. "Based on your bank records over 7 years, You've sent them approximately $317,000. I felt like I'd been slapped. Over $300,000? Give or take. We can document every penny. My entire adult life. My relationship with Sarah. My mental health. My inability to save for my own future. All of it sacrificed for over $300,000 that was based on lies. Diane must have seen something in my face because her voice softened. Jeffrey, I know this is overwhelming, but you need to understand something. You're the victim here, not them. They stole years of your life, and hundreds of thousands of dollars. Don't let them make you feel guilty for finally fighting back. I nodded, not trusting my voice. There's one more thing, Diane said. Your uncle's law firm? I did some research. They're required to report any conflicts of interest to the Ohio bar. Your uncle representing your mother in a case where he has a financial interest in the outcome, where he's threatened you personally. That's a gray area. Ethically. Are you saying we can get him kicked off the case? I'm saying we can make his life difficult if he keeps pushing. Sometimes that's enough. Do it, I said. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about $317,000. I thought about the life I could have had, the house I could have bought, the wedding I could have planned with Sarah, the retirement account I could have started. Instead, I had a studio apartment, a dying car, and a family trying to destroy me. Around 2 a.m, my phone buzzed. A text from a number I didn't recognize. The message read, Jeffrey, this is Travis. I need to talk to you. Alone. Please. Mom and Amanda don't know I'm reaching out. I stared at the message for a long time. It could be a trap, another manipulation. But something in the phrasing felt desperate in a different way than the other messages I'd received. Against my better judgment, I typed back. When? Tomorrow. Coffee shop on 5th Street. Noon. Please come. I'll be there, I sent back. I didn't sleep after that. I lay awake wondering what Travis could possibly have to say and whether I was walking into an ambush. I arrived at the coffee shop on 5th Street 15 minutes early. It was a cold morning, the kind where your breath fogs in the air and you can't quite get warm. I ordered coffee and sat in a corner booth where I could watch the door. Travis walked in at exactly noon. My younger brother, 25 years old, wearing a jacket I probably helped pay for. He looked around nervously, spotted me, and walked over. Thanks for coming, he said, as he slid into the booth across from me. What do you want, Travis? He looked at his hands. I need to tell you something. Something Mom and Amanda don't know I found. I waited. I've been living at the house, you know that. Mom's been a wreck since you cut off the money. She and Amanda have been in crisis mode, making calls, meeting with Uncle Randy, trying to figure out how to survive. I didn't respond. I wasn't going to make this easier for him. 2 days ago, Travis continued, I couldn't sleep. I went downstairs around 3 a.m. for water. Mom's office door was open, and I saw file boxes on the floor. She'd been going through old papers, trying to find something to use against you in the lawsuit. Get to the point, I said. I looked through the boxes after she went to bed. He pulled a folder from inside his jacket and set it on the table. I found these. I opened the folder. Inside were insurance documents, life insurance documents. My father's name was at the top. Travis spoke quietly. Dad had a life insurance policy. $250,000. It paid out to Mom 7 years ago, 3 months after he died. I stared at the papers, my vision blurring slightly. She told us there was nothing, Travis said. She said Dad left us in debt. She said we were drowning financially. But he left $250,000, Jeffrey. My hands were shaking. I turned the page. Bank statements. My mother's bank account from 7 years ago, showing a deposit of $249,500. The insurance payout minus fees. Where did the money go? I asked, though I already knew the answer. Travis pulled out more papers. Withdrawals. Purchases. Credit card payoffs. A new car. Home renovations. Vacations. She spent about $60,000 in the first year alone. The rest went into investments and savings. So when I started sending her money, I said slowly, She already had almost $200,000 sitting in accounts. Yes. Travis looked miserable. She didn't need your help, Jeffrey. She never needed it. She just liked having it. I felt something crack inside my chest. 7 years. 7 years of sacrifice, of guilt, of believing I was saving my family from ruin. All of it built on a lie that started the moment my father died. There's more, Travis said quietly. He pulled out another document. See this? 3 years ago, Mom took out the home equity loan. $70,000. But look at her account balance at the time. I looked. She'd had $96,000 in the bank. She didn't need the loan, Travis said. She had plenty of money. But if she borrowed against the house and told you it was Dad's debt, she could get you to pay it off while keeping her own money untouched. It was fraud from the beginning, I said. Travis nodded. And Amanda knew. Look at these texts. He showed me screenshots of text messages between Amanda and our mother. Messages planning how to ask me for money. Messages discussing how to make sure I didn't find out about the insurance payout. Messages about how grateful I'd be to help the family. In one message, Amanda wrote, "He's so easy to manipulate. Just mention Dad and he'll do anything." My mother's response, "He's a good boy. He just needs the right guidance." I felt sick. "Jeffrey," Travis said, his voice breaking, "I'm so sorry. I should have questioned things sooner. I should have asked where the money for my car came from. I should have wondered how Mom could afford to send Amanda on vacation. I just didn't think about it." "You were 18 when Dad died," I said quietly. "You were a kid." "I'm not a kid anymore," Travis said. "I'm 25 years old, and I've been living off your guilt for 7 years." "That's on me." We sat in silence. Around us, the coffee shop hummed with normal life. People ordering lattes, working on laptops, meeting friends. They had no idea that my entire world had just collapsed and reformed. "What are you going to do?" Travis asked. "I'm giving all of this to my lawyer," I said, gesturing to the folder. "And I'm pressing charges. All of them. Fraud, forgery, identity theft, everything." Travis nodded. "You understand. What about you?" "I'm moving out," Travis said. "I found an apartment, got a roommate. I start a new job next week, full-time warehouse position. I'm going to pay my own bills from now on. And Mom, Amanda?" Travis's expression hardened slightly. "They made their choices. They can live with the consequences. They'll try to make you choose sides." "They already have," Travis said. "I chose you. Because you're the only one who's been honest." After Travis left, I sat alone in the coffee shop for another hour. I spread out the documents he'd given me and read through everything 3 times. The insurance policy, the bank statements, the text messages. My phone rang. "Diane." "I have something," I told her. "Something big. I'm at my office. Come now." An hour later, I was sitting across from Diane as she reviewed Travis's documents. Her expression grew darker with each page. "This changes everything," she said finally. "Your mother committed fraud on a massive scale. She lied to you about your father's debts. She manipulated you into supporting her while she had over $200,000 in the bank. She took out a home equity loan she didn't need and tricked you into paying it. Can we use this in court?" Diane looked at me. "Jeffrey, this isn't just civil court material. This is criminal. Multiple counts of fraud. Wire fraud, if she used electronic banking. Tax fraud if she didn't report your gifts properly. We're talking serious felony charges." "I want to file them," I said. "All of them." "Are you sure? Once we do this, there's no going back. Your mother could face prison time." I thought about 7 years of guilt. Of ramen noodles and studio apartments. Of Sarah leaving. Of 87 missed calls and being called an idiot. Of Amanda posting on Facebook about my cruelty while wearing jewelry I'd helped pay for. "I'm sure," I said. Diane nodded and picked up her phone. She called the prosecutor's office and explained the situation. She mentioned the insurance fraud, the forged checks, the identity theft attempt. She said she had documentation for all of it. When she hung up, she looked at me. "They want to meet. Tomorrow morning. Bring everything." That evening, I tried to process everything that had happened. My brother had risked his relationship with our mother to tell me the truth. My father, who I'd mourned as a man who'd left us in debt, had actually provided well for us. My mother, who I'd sacrificed everything to help, had never needed help at all. I called Harold, the private investigator. "You were right," I told him. "About everything. It's worse than we thought." "I heard about the insurance policy," Harold said. Travis called me. Smart kid, asking for advice on how to present the documents. "He called you?" "Yesterday. He wanted to make sure he was doing the right thing." I told him he was. "Thank you," I said, "for believing me when nobody else did." "That's my job," Harold said. "But for what it's worth, I'd have believed you anyway. I've been doing this 30 years. I know the difference between someone telling the truth and someone running a con. Your mother? She's a professional." After we hung up, I sat in my apartment and thought about confrontation. About the lawsuit my mother had filed. About Uncle Randy's threatening letters. About Amanda's Facebook posts. They'd declared war on me, all because I'd stopped being their bank. They'd tried to destroy my reputation, my career, my future, all to maintain their comfortable lifestyle built on my labor and their lies. Well, now I had ammunition of my own, and unlike them, mine was truth. My phone buzzed. A text from Sarah. "I heard Travis reached out to you. Is everything okay?" I typed back, "Getting there. Thanks for asking." Her response came quickly. "I'm proud of you for fighting back. You deserved better than what they gave you." I stared at that message for a long time. You deserved better. 3 simple words that nobody in my family had ever said to me. The next morning, I met Diane at the prosecutor's office. We sat in a conference room with an assistant district attorney named Marcus Chen, a sharp-eyed man in his 40s who reviewed every document with careful attention. "This is comprehensive," he said finally. "Your mother has committed multiple felonies. The question is whether we can prove intent." "We can," Diane said. She showed him the text messages between my mother and Amanda, the discussions about manipulating me, the jokes about my gullibility. Marcus read them, his jaw tightening. "These are pretty damning." The meeting lasted 2 hours. By the end, Marcus said, "We'll open an investigation. I can't make promises about charges, but there's definitely enough here for a grand jury." On the drive back to Diane's office, my phone exploded with messages. Voicemails from my mother, Amanda, Uncle Randy. Texts from extended family members. One from my mother, "Jeffrey, please call me. We need to talk about Travis. He's not well. I think he's having some kind of breakdown." One from Amanda. "Travis stole documents from Mom's house. He's committed a crime. You're both going to pay for this." One from Uncle Randy. "Mr. Thompson, as your mother's attorney, I demand you return all stolen property immediately or face criminal prosecution for theft." I showed them to Diane. She smiled grimly. "They know," she said. "Travis must have told them, or they figured it out. Either way, they know you have the insurance documents." "What do we do?" "Nothing," Diane said. "Let them panic. Let them make mistakes. The more they lash out, the worse they look." That afternoon, Amanda posted again on Facebook. This time, she accused Travis and me of colluding to steal from our mother. She claimed we'd broken into her house and taken private documents. She said she was filing police reports against both of us. The comments section filled up immediately, but this time, some people pushed back. One person wrote, "Amanda, your stories keep changing. First, Jeffrey abandoned you. Now he's stealing from you? Which is it?" Another, "I've known Jeffrey since high school. This doesn't sound like him at all." Someone else, "Maybe there are 2 sides to this story." The tide was starting to turn. Not dramatically, but enough. Enough that some people were questioning Amanda's narrative. That evening, Travis called me. "Mom knows I took the documents," he said. "She's threatening to press charges. She says I stole from her." "You can't steal documents that prove someone else's crime," I said. Diane already checked. "You're fine legally." "She's kicked me out," Travis said. "Changed the locks. I had to go to the house with a police escort to get my stuff." "Where are you staying?" "Friend's couch for now. My new apartment isn't ready for another week." "Come stay with me," I said, surprising myself. "I've got a couch. It's not much, but you're welcome to it." There was silence on the line. Then, "Really? You're my brother," I said. "The only one who chose to tell the truth." "Thanks, Jeffrey. That means a lot." 20 minutes later, Travis showed up at my apartment with 2 garbage bags of his belongings. We ordered pizza and sat on my small couch, watching a basketball game neither of us really cared about. "I'm scared," Travis admitted during a commercial break. "Mom's always been controlling, but I've never seen her like this. She's furious. She's desperate," I said. "Her comfortable life is falling apart. People like her don't handle that well. Do you think she'll go to prison?" "I honestly don't know. But I know I'm done protecting her from the consequences of her own actions." Travis nodded. "Me too." We fell asleep on the couch that night, exhausted from everything. In the morning, I woke to find my phone showing 104 missed calls. 104 calls in 8 hours. My family was imploding, and I was right in the center of it. But for the first time in 7 years, I wasn't alone. Thanksgiving arrived 2 weeks later. The holiday I'd been banned from, the event that had started this entire catastrophe. I spent it in my small apartment with Travis, Harold, and Sarah, who had agreed to come when I called and asked. We made turkey sandwiches, because none of us knew how to cook a real Thanksgiving dinner. We watched football. We talked about normal things. It was quiet, simple, and the best Thanksgiving I'd had in years. The legal proceedings had moved forward with startling speed once the prosecutor got involved. Amanda had been arrested 3 days earlier. The charges were bank fraud, forgery, and identity theft. She'd pleaded guilty to reduced charges in exchange for probation and an agreement to repay me. $2,400 plus interest. It wasn't much, but it was something. My mother faced more serious charges. Fraud, wire fraud, filing a false police report when she'd reported Travis for theft. Her lawyer, Uncle Randy, had quietly withdrawn from the case citing ethical concerns. Diane had made sure the Ohio bar was aware of his conflicts of interest, and he decided representing my mother wasn't worth risking his license. My mother pleaded no contest to multiple fraud charges. She received 3 years probation, community service, and a court order to repay me. The amount was set at $74,000, representing the home equity loan payments I'd made under false pretenses. The judge noted that while I'd given much more over the years, much of it was voluntary and couldn't be compelled as repayment. But the loan payments I'd made believing they were my father's debt, those were clear fraud. The house went into foreclosure. My mother couldn't make the payments without my support, and the bank moved forward with taking the property. She'd moved into a small apartment in a less expensive part of town. I heard through Travis that she'd had to get a job, her first in 15 years. She was working retail, barely making ends meet. Amanda had moved in with a friend and was working 2 jobs to afford her share of rent. Her Facebook had gone quiet. The last post she'd made, before everything came out, had been deleted. So, some of her friends had reached out to apologize to me once the truth became public. Most hadn't. Uncle Randy wasn't speaking to me, but Aunt Cheryl had called a week ago. She'd apologized, said she should have listened to my side earlier. She invited me to Christmas dinner. I'd said I'd think about it. The audit at work had cleared me completely, as Patricia knew it would. My reputation among my coworkers had slowly rebuilt once the truth came out. Jason had apologized for doubting me. Others had quietly done the same. Sarah and I were taking things slow, but we were talking again. Really talking. In ways we never had when my family was draining my emotional energy. She told me she could see the difference in me, how I stood straighter, spoke more confidently, didn't carry the weight of constant guilt. Now, sitting in my apartment on Thanksgiving Day, I raised a glass of cheap wine toward Harold, Travis, and Sarah. "Happy Thanksgiving," I said. They raised their glasses back. "Happy Thanksgiving. What are you thankful for this year?" Sarah asked me. I thought about it. "I'm thankful for truth," I said. "For people who believed me when it would have been easier not to. For my brother finding his courage. For finally learning that being family doesn't give someone the right to abuse you." Harold nodded approvingly. "That's the lesson right there. Blood doesn't entitle people to unlimited access to your resources, your time, or your peace of mind." Travis spoke up. his voice quiet but firm. I'm thankful Jeffrey didn't give up. I'm thankful he fought back. Because watching him do that taught me something important. That you can love your family and still set boundaries. That you can care about people and still protect yourself. Sarah squeezed my hand. I'm thankful Jeffrey is finally putting himself first, even if it took losing everything to get there. We ate our turkey sandwiches and watched the game. Around 6 o'clock, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. It was my mother. Her voice was small, tired. Jeffrey, I know I don't have the right to call. I know you probably don't want to hear from me. I didn't respond. I walked to my bedroom and closed the door, giving us privacy. I just wanted to say, she continued, that I'm sorry. I know that's not enough. I know I can't undo what I've done, but I'm sorry. Why? I asked. Why did you do it? She was quiet for a long moment. Because I was scared. After your father died, I was terrified. Terrified of losing the house, of losing my lifestyle, of becoming nothing. The insurance money should have been enough, but I kept thinking about what would happen when it ran out. So I just kept taking. From you, from the bank, from everyone. And it became normal. I stopped seeing it as wrong. You called me an idiot, I said quietly. You banned me from Thanksgiving. You tried to destroy my career, all because I stopped letting you use me. I know, she whispered. I was angry, I was desperate, and I was wrong. About everything. I stared at my reflection in the bedroom mirror. I looked different than I had 3 weeks ago. Thinner, maybe. Definitely more tired. But also more solid somehow, like I was finally standing on firm ground. I don't forgive you, I told my mother. Not yet, maybe not ever. You took 7 years of my life. You stole my father's memory from me. You made me believe I was saving my family when really I was just funding your comfort. I understand, she said. But I don't hate you either. You're my mother, and somewhere under all the manipulation, I think you do love me. You just love yourself more. She was crying now. I could hear it in her breathing. I hope you build a good life, I said. A real one, based on truth this time. But I won't be part of it. Not for a long while, if ever. Jeffrey, she said, but I'd already hung up. I walked back to the living room. Travis looked at me questioningly. She called, I said. Apologized. Do you believe her? Travis asked. I think she's sorry she got caught, I said. Whether she's sorry for what she did, I don't know. And it doesn't really matter. She made her choices. Now she lives with them. Sarah stood and hugged me. I'm proud of you, she said into my shoulder. We spent the rest of the evening talking about the future. Travis's new job was going well. He was saving money, learning to budget, discovering what it meant to be independent. He'd enrolled in online classes to finish his degree. Harold told stories from his years as a detective. Sarah talked about a promotion she was hoping for at her job. I mentioned that Patricia had offered me a senior team leader position. More money, more responsibility. I'd accepted. For the first time in 7 years, my money was mine. My time was mine. My life was mine. I'd started therapy 2 weeks ago. My therapist, a kind woman named Dr. Ellen Martinez, had helped me understand that what my family did to me was financial abuse. That the guilt they'd weaponized against me was a form of control. That setting boundaries wasn't selfish, it was survival. I was learning to recognize the patterns my mother had used. The guilt trips. The manipulation. The way she'd make me feel responsible for everyone's happiness, but my own. Understanding those patterns helped me see how deeply they'd shaped my entire adult life. But I was also learning to rebuild, to trust my own judgment, to believe I deserved good things, to understand that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is walk away. Around 9 o'clock, as we were cleaning up from dinner, I pulled out my laptop and showed them something I'd been working on. A budget, a real one, for my own life. I'd calculated what I could afford now that I wasn't supporting my family. I could move to a 1-bedroom apartment in a better neighborhood. I could buy a reliable car. I could save for retirement. I could take a vacation next summer. Look at this, I said, pointing to a number on the screen. If I stay at my current spending level and save the money I was sending them, I could have a down payment for a house in 2 years. A house, Sarah repeated, looking at me with something like wonder. Jeffrey, you could actually buy a house. I could build a life, I said, a real one. That night, after everyone had left, I sat alone in my apartment and thought about the past 7 years, about all the sacrifices I'd made believing they were necessary, about all the guilt I'd carried believing it was justified. I thought about my father, the real man, not the manufactured memory my mother had created. He'd been responsible, but also generous, hardworking, but also fun. He'd taught me to help people, but I wondered if he'd have wanted me to destroy myself in the process. I like to think he'd be proud of me now, not for abandoning my family, but for finally choosing myself, for standing up to manipulation, for demanding truth and respect. I opened my laptop and wrote something I'd been thinking about for days, a letter I'd never send, but needed to write anyway. Dear Dad, it began. I spent 7 years trying to honor your memory by taking care of Mom and Amanda and Travis. I thought that's what you'd want. I thought being a good son meant sacrificing everything. But I realize now that's not what you taught me. You taught me to work hard, yes. To be responsible, yes. But you also taught me to be honest, to stand up for myself, to build a life worth living. I'm finally doing that. I hope wherever you are, you understand. Love, Jeffrey. I saved the letter in a folder on my computer and closed the laptop. My phone buzzed. A text from Sarah. Thank you for today. It meant a lot to be included. You're going to be okay, Jeffrey. Better than okay. Lauder. 1. Ren. I typed back. Thank you for believing in me, even when I didn't believe in myself. Before bed, I checked my bank account one more time. For the first time in 7 years, my balance was growing instead of shrinking. It wasn't much yet, but it was mine. I thought about the journey ahead. The therapy sessions. The continued legal proceedings as my mother's probation played out. The family relationships that would never be the same. The holidays that would feel different. The weddings and funerals where I'd have to face people who'd believed Amanda's lies. It wouldn't be easy, but it would be honest. And honest was something I hadn't had in a very long time. As I lay in bed that night, I realized something important. I wasn't angry anymore. The rage that had sustained me through the worst of it had faded into something calmer. Sadness, maybe, for what could have been. Disappointment in the family I'd thought I had. But also, hope for the future I could build. I was 32 years old, and I was finally starting my life. The lessons I'd learned were hard ones, but they were true. Being family doesn't give anyone the right to abuse you. Love and support should flow both ways, not just from you to them. Setting boundaries isn't cruelty, it's self-preservation. And sometimes, the most loving thing you can do is walk away from people who refuse to treat you with respect. I'd spent years believing I owed my family everything. I'd sacrificed my own future, my own happiness, my own well-being, to keep them comfortable. And in return, they'd called me an idiot and tried to destroy me when I finally said enough. But I'd survived. More than that, I'd reclaimed my life. As I drifted off to sleep, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. Real, genuine peace. Not the guilty peace of thinking I'd done enough, but the deep peace of knowing I'd done what was right, even when it was hardest. My mother's text had called me an idiot and banned me from Thanksgiving. She'd forgotten I was the bank. But more importantly, she'd forgotten I was a person. A person who deserved respect, honesty, and love that didn't come with conditions. I was done being the bank. I was done being the safety net. I was done being the one who sacrificed everything while others sacrificed nothing. I was just Jeffrey now, and that was enough. If you've been through something similar, if you've struggled with family members who take advantage of your generosity, I want to hear your story. Have you ever had to set boundaries with family? How did they react? Was it worth it in the end? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please give it a like and share it with someone who might need to hear it. And if you want to hear more stories about overcoming family challenges and finding your own path, make sure to subscribe. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it helps someone out there realize they're not alone, and that choosing yourself isn't selfish, it's survival. May you all find the courage to build the life you deserve, and may your Thanksgivings be filled with people who truly value you. Take care.